everyone is doing good. And thank you all for coming in for this information session on Hanga Pitchfest 2021. So I'm Esther Kunda, in charge of Innovation and Emerging Technologies at the Ministry of ICT and Innovation.
And I'm Tessie Rusaga from Kigali Innovation City.
Thank you all. So I think today what we're going to be doing, and hopefully most of you have a long way in submitting your application for the competition. We'll just go through what the competition is about, and then one key element, which is the pitch deck that you have to submit and work on for your submission, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. But throughout the session, feel free to write your questions in the Q&A chat box, so that either some of our colleagues can answer them, or if we see them, we'll be able to answer them as we go through this. Also, if at the end during Q&A, if you want to speak, there's a question you have, please raise your hand, and then we'll just give you the floor to speak. Hopefully that's very clear. So let's just go through it. What is Hanga Pitchfest? So today, Ministry of ICT and RDB have created this competition in order to showcase and promote innovations and tech-enabled startups in Rwanda. And I don't know if you know about this, but we've been trying with UNDA-RISA to create secondary innovation hubs in secondary cities, which are going to be called Hanga Hubs. And this is almost in the same spirit where we want to see this. So this is going to be a festival. The final day is going to be on December 11th. So other than the competition that we have, we'll have exhibition, master classes, and other exciting activities during that same day. For the competition itself, the winner will walk away with $50,000 US, and then the other top 4 finalists will go away with $12,500 US. But also we are also looking at bringing on board other non-cash prizes that some of our sponsors and supporters in the Rwandan ecosystem are bringing on board. So we really look forward to see innovators and young innovators like yourselves come on board, pitch to government officials, pitch to academia, to potential investors, and a really diverse crowd that will come to cheer you on during the final day. So during the event itself, we're looking at having 5 startups pitch for the live pitching competition. But other than that, we'll have, I think as I have said, an innovators showcase exhibition where you'll be able to see some interesting innovations that are in the country, but also entrepreneurs support organizations that are in Rwanda and the services that they provide. We'll have live performance, basically entertainment at the Kigali Arena. And then we'll also have master classes for entrepreneurs and the creative industry. So master classes could be how do you grow your business? How do you, if it's a master class with a potential investor, etc., etc. And feel free to also give us ideas of some of the master classes that you'd be interested to see or attend during that same day. And then lastly, in order to make sure that this the pitch event is available or different people can look at it, it will be live streamed across on various channels, so that a lot of people can see it and cheer you on if you're in the top 5. So what are we looking at? So applications will end on November 10th. That's on Wednesday next week. So this is going to be a few days of heavy lifting, and then we'll take the following week to shortlist our top companies and startups across the country. And what we'll do is we'll take this selection on the road. So what we want to do is to make sure that there's a clear representation from across the country. So we'll go to Huye, Musanze, and Kigali on different days where shortlisted startups would actually do a live pitching of their startups and their innovations. And then from those 3 locations, we're going to select the top 25 startups who are going to go into a 2 weeks boot camp. So the boot camp is going to really be about supporting you in terms of pitching, putting together your pitch deck that you'd have submitted, learning or even getting a refresher on business model, thinking about your business, your innovation, etc., etc. So we're already putting that together. And then on December 11th, that's the D-Day with the live pitching will be during the boot camp. There's going to be elimination during the boot camp, and by end of the first week, we'll have our top 5 who will be the ones that will be pitching on the final day. So in terms of how the process looks like, this is how it is. But for the immediate action, which is getting your applications, I know you've seen the application form, but there's also attachments which include a pitch deck, and I will let Tessie go through what the pitch deck looks like and what are we expecting from that.
Thank you, Esther. So when you go through the application, on the website, we have a section that says apply here. And within that, it takes you to a platform where you can apply. One of the requirements is to upload a pitch deck. And we've provided a template that startups can use. We really recommend that you use this template because it will facilitate the shortlisting process, and also so that we're able to standardize it. So the pitch deck goes through a couple of sections. The first one is for the problem statement. And here we're looking for a clear description of the problem that your startup aims to solve. Looking for startups to really articulate what this problem is, who it affects, if it's, let's say, youth in Rwanda, being very clear who your solution is targeted and what that problem is, so that it will be very easy to understand and also assess the solution that's being proposed. The next section is the solution. So here, after defining the problem, really looking to understand what's a startup idea you're offering. And we ask that you're very specific about the service or the product that you're defining, and also highlight what makes it innovative, how it's tech-enabled, or how it can scale through technology to increase chances of increase your chances when it comes to the criteria that we're looking for to shortlist. After that, really we're looking for you to help us to understand the market size. So based off the problem and the solution, who is your customer? How big is the market that you're looking at? So if you're looking at a product for youth in Kigali, is it just female? Is it male? Is it both? If you can give more information around the segmentation, and then if you're then expanding to Huye, so really trying to put some numbers to how big this market could be, so that judges are able to assess the potential for this business and how big it can grow. So this does require some research, and we really encourage you to make sure that you're able to quantify how big the customer market is. The next section is on the product traction. So this is looking at the progress that you've made. Where are you today? Are you still at the prototype stage? Do you have a viable product? Do you have some customers that you've launched it to, or that you're testing it with, or do you actually have an existing customer base that has adopted the technology? And here we'll also be looking for some evidence that it helps us understand that, this is a product that customers are interested in, and that has potential to grow. But of course, we realize that as an early stage startup, this is also work in progress and people are testing. But even that's good progress that can show that you've already started the development phase and you're starting to understand the customer and looking to that's then feeding into your product development phase. So really sharing as much information here in terms of what you've done so far, if you're developing a software, where you've reached, how many customers you have, if you've tested it, would be really helpful. The next question is the business model. So sharing your thinking about how the solution will make money, who, based off the customer base and the market size that you described, how you think about pricing it, the associated costs. So really helping us understand how this solution actually is going to work in the market, and the thinking you have so far, how you'll generate revenues and so on. This is really important, even though we understand it evolves and will be tested. But it's really important to at least have that the initial understanding from you as founders of how you're really thinking this through to grow the business. And then lastly, and then if you can also highlight who your competitors are that are in a similar space, and based off that, how you're differentiating from them and what your competitive advantage is for the solution, would also be really important to help us to understand. So if it's a fintech solution and it's a fintech wallet, for example, one of your competitors is mobile money, helping us understand how you're different from mobile money, why customers will choose your product, what you offer that the current solutions that competitors don't have, so that the judges are really able to assess the potential for the company. We're also looking to understand your funding status today, if you've raised any money, or how you're currently funding your venture today, if it's from savings, if it's some grant funding, if it's customers who are paying you, or if you've raised funding from angel networks and so on. For this part of the application criteria is that we're looking at startups who have raised money, but it has to be either from angel networks, so it can be from grant funding, but for startups who've already raised some venture capital, they would not be eligible for the process, because the whole point of the competition is to help unlock venture capital for those startups who haven't raised. So if you've already raised some venture capital, then it wouldn't be eligible, but everyone else who might have had grant funding or angel funding, or who's funding the startup from their own revenues or savings, is eligible. We're also looking to understand the team members, what's the team composition so far, who's the founder, what other roles exist, like a CTO, the background, so really understanding the composition of the team, and as much information as you can share to give excuse me, judges confidence that this is a team that can really grow and reach a vision. But so it's really, it's okay if you're a sole founder at this point and are looking to grow the team. You can also share what's the members that exist and what you're looking to, what the future looks like, how you're planning on building the team. But really giving us a sense of how you envision the team evolving over time is really helpful, and what exists today. So that's it for the pitch deck and the pitch deck template. So we'll just pause here for the question and answer session.
So there's two people who raised their hand. So, can I give them?
Okay, absolutely. I'm allowing to talk.
Yeah.
Can you mute on our side?
Hamza.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, Hamza, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
My name is Hamza Katende. And I'm building a fintech here in Kigali. Just moved here about a month ago. So my question is regards to the prototype. I would like to understand what you regard as a prototype, because in the requirements you said working prototype. Are you particular about prototyping tools that founders should be using for prototyping? That's what I need to understand, because the different tools for prototyping. Do you need something that is running on an application, sorry, on a mobile phone? Do you just need, in the application, they require to submit a link. So the link could be from maybe from wireframes, from maybe Adobe XD, or from screens from Adobe XD, because Adobe XD also does prototyping. Or do you need it actually in an actual development environment? That's what I need clarification on. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza. So when we talk about prototype, what we would like to see is people who can actually a live product, So when we leave it at prototype is because we do not expect people to have millions of users or even thousands of users, but at least something that actually works and that is in the hands of at least one customer at this point. So that's what we mean by prototype, and the link and video we were looking at is, if you have an app already on any app store, then you can share the link to that app store. If it's because we're also looking at companies that have actually, I don't know, like I'd say physical products, and they cannot just share a link of how that would work. They could just film that a video of how their physical product, loosely translating, if you developed a laptop, then just show us how it works in a video. And that's what we mean by prototype. And it's more of what stage is your product development at, rather than which tools you have or you're using.
All right. Can I just ask another question?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, I've understood your explanation. So let's say I've done. I don't know if you understand what UI and UX is. Do you understand it?
Yes.
Okay, so from Adobe XD, you can use this environment to design how your interface should look like, and ideally they have a prototyping functionality, where from design I can actually share with you a link and show you how you can actually interact with what I'm doing, not necessarily actually translating what I've designed into code. There's a possibility of actually translating that into actual code and then exporting an APK that I can share with you. But now that is another stage of it. So, but then from design level, I've designed it and I can actually show you how you can actually interact it through a link. So if I give you a link, depending on where you're opening it from, whether it's web or mobile, you can actually interact with the design, but it is not actual code.
So Hamza, that would be fine if you send me that link, but then you're able to also demonstrate through the other elements that there's at least something that is working in a live environment, outside of that demonstration that you're sharing. So if it's still in ideation, because that's just ideation stage, you're still building that product. So I don't think, if you're still building, that is not eligible. But that's a way of demonstrating for this application, and you'll still be able to, you still have a product that is in people's hands, then that's still fine. You can submit that. But in other aspects of the application, whether it's in the pitch deck, etc., you'd have to demonstrate how that product is live and in people's hands. I hope that's good.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Do we go to the chat?
Okay, maybe we finish these two in the Q&A.
Some calling on the keyboard.
Okay.
Hi, Evod. I think you're unmuted. You can go ahead and speak.
You can do the presentation.
Right?
Yes, Evod.
Yes. I would like to know what type of project recommended. I want to know if any project which is not innovation related or ICT or technology related are also allowed to be applied in the Hanga Pitch.
What do you mean by it's not innovation and it's not technology? Can you give us an example?
Maybe there are some guys who do good project, but which is good but not innovated, like who can do any design by using local materials, but it's not similar like innovation. Like in the
You can say it in Kinyarwanda if it's easier, Evod.
narimo gutekereza hari imishinga urubyiruko rukora ariko wenda itari muri innovation cyangwa se itarimo tekinoloji nyinshi cyane, ariko ukabona ni imishinga myiza umuntu yapresentinga. Hari nk'urubyiruko wenda rukora ubudozi, bakora ibintu by'ububaji, so ugasanga wenda ntabwo turi buze kuyikarasa wenda muri innovation cyangwa se muri tekinoloji, ariko ukaza ugasanga iyo mishinga nayo yaza gukompeta yaba ari myiza. So nagira ngo mbaze rero nimba nta boundaries zirimo, kuba wenda hari criteria kuba wenda itari muri iyo sector ya innovation cyangwa se ya tekinoloji, umuntu wese wumva ufite project nziza yaba apply.
Urakoze, Evod. Ni ukuvuga ngo iyi competition irareba gusa abantu bafite imishinga iri tech enabled. Icyo twita tech enabled ni ukuvuga ngo ifite ikintu kijyanye na tekinoloji gituma baba bafite iyo mishinga. So ni ukuvuga ngo nimba akora ubudozi gusa ntabwo yaza muri iri rushanwa. Ni ukuvuga ngo iri rushanwa ni ry'abantu bakoresha tekinoloji mu bikorwa byabo cyangwa mu mishinga yabo.
Murakoze cyane.
Is it in Q&A or it's in the chat?
Raised hand, then I'll go to Q&A.
Emmanuel, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, my name is Emmanuel. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. So I want to clarify what we call innovation. But sometimes we have some kind of idea which is already exists when somewhere in the Europe, in America, but you want to implement here in Rwanda. So we can bring those services, of course, in Rwanda. But the idea is not new, but it's not available in Rwanda. But if sometimes it's available, we want to make more better, more innovative, and more accessible for more people. So how we can classify this kind of idea or product?
Thank you, Emmanuel. So I think that's not a problem. So for example, if you look at something like e-commerce was being done in different markets, and now it has come to Rwanda. And so we would not say that this is not an innovative product, because it's still a solution that's helping solve a problem that we have in the market when it comes to giving, let's say, customers access to goods and giving SMEs access to customers. So that's not a problem. But like Esther said, we're really focused on, is it tech enabled? It can be hardware or software. And is it, and then whether it has been done elsewhere, that's not necessarily an issue in terms of evaluating for startups to apply.
Okay, thank you. So because my product is in the food delivery service, so it will be the mobile application, they are also on the Google Play Store. And even if we start working, I was feel that because it is the idea, it will be the red flag for our side. But thank you.
So you say your product has already started working?
Yeah, we have the minimum viable product on the Play Store, and some customers trying to use it. And even if we have some of your customers who are operating in the same town, but want to expand more in the other town like Musanze, like Nyamata, like Kigali, but it is just a food delivery service. So we have the application, we have people delivering, even if we have a few restaurants operating. Yeah, but so our business is so people they use our mobile application for providing orders, so we can process the order. So like it's taken because we have a product on the Play Store on Android, and we plan also to debate on iOS. Just the technical oriented product.
Please go ahead and apply, Emmanuel. Make sure you finalize everything, and I think your application is welcome.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have a few more questions in the chat. Yeah, and then we'll come back. Joseph, ikibazo mfite mu gukora application hari ibibazo byanga kwandika ibisubizo bakagaragaza ko hari amagambo abura, submit ikanga, mwaduha inama z'ukuntu twabigenza. Joseph, hari ubwo kwandika watubwira izo areas izo arizo ziri kwanga?
It's required. Every step is required.
Ariko nimba hari aho byanze no kuvuga ko ushobora kuba hari utarangije kuzuzamo ibikenewe. Yeah, hari ubwo kuko fields zose zirakenewe kuzuzuzamo. Nimba hari ikibazo, you can also take a screenshot y'ikibazo ufite, and then ukohereza kuri email ya info@hangapitchfest.rw. I think tugiye kuyandika that email muri chat box kugira ngo umuntu wese ufite ikibazo abe yakohereza ari gukora application, and then turamusubiza.
Should be done.
Yeah. So as Tess is saying, fields zose ziri kuri the application form zose ugomba kuzuza, zirakenewe, ni na ngombwa, ntabwo submission izemera hari field nimwe tujuje. And then Enoch hari kubaza nimba umushinga ugomba kuba ugizwe n'ikoranabuhanga, se n'ikoranabuhanga rijyana ICT gusa cyangwa n'indi field ifite umwihariko n'ikoranabuhanga runaka yakora application like related to agri-tech innovation should apply. So iyo tuvuze technology enabled ni technology zose, yaba ariyo mu buhinzi, muri health, anything else, as long as it's classified as technology, then that application is eligible to apply. So Enoch, feel free to apply with any of your innovations. Let me see. So AM Group, wari ufite igishoro akaza guhomba, wakoraga muri sector runaka agahindura sector. So here we're not ntabwo turi kureba sector iyo ariyo yose. Nguvuga ngo nimba ufite umushinga uri gukora uyu munsi, ikinyenzi nuko kugaragaza uburyo uwo mushinga uri gukora naho uri kujya. So you apply with your startup n'umushinga uri gukora uyu munsi. Nimba waragize igihombo ariko ukaba ugikomeza kugerageza gukora, you can still apply for that.
No, Emmanuel, he jumped on.
Emmanuel is the one who asked questions earlier. Emmanuel, I hope the question in the chat is the same as what you answered. We answered.
I think we should answer it.
Our setup has started.
So there's a question from Emmanuel on product traction, saying our startup has started early in April. We serve some customers so far. Do we need to add closed customers numbers as part of traction? So I think, you know, it's good to indicate the number of customers you have. If you can also share the information in terms of what is closed and how many are existing, and maybe even share with the judges what you've learned from the customers who are no longer there, but as much information as you can share on how the market is receiving your solution is important.
I think it's fine.
Okay. Then there's a question from Michael. What exactly do you consider venture funding? So we've said that if it's family, friends, and angel investment is okay. If you've raised institutional equity funding, then you're not eligible. But grants, let's say from different accelerator programs that you might have participated in, or any other programs is also okay. So grants, family, friends, and angels is eligible, and then anything that's institutional equity or debt is not eligible.
So about editing application, I think from Alphonse and Claudette. So can we edit the applications? I don't think so. I don't think so. But what I would, if you think there's really fundamental information that you've not put in the application, I would, if I was you, I would create a new application and write to info to remove the previous one, to not consider the previous one. So if you can check, do a new application, that will be fine. I think we still have a few more days to go. And then what is the difference between product traction and prototype?
So I think product traction, so the prototype, first of all, shows traction for you as a company. So you have a prototype that you can showcase. Now, the next question is, has that prototype been tested on the market? So for some people it will be yes, they have, and for others it will be no, maybe they haven't yet. So that's the kind of information we're looking at. So if you have a prototype, you can have a prototype that you haven't yet, that doesn't have customers. That's fine, but at least you can show that you have a prototype that you've started testing, but not, you haven't yet reached a customer stage. But for traction, we're then looking at what is the customer. So traction, we defined it in both development, where you've reached in development as a company, and then second, where you've reached with customer engagement. So if you can share as much information on both, that would be very helpful.
And Henry, on the pitch deck, because this is just a submission, we've provided a template, the one Tessie was presenting a few minutes ago. So we're not looking at minutes at the moment. So it's just to look at what is your pitch deck content-wise, and then if you're in the top in the top 50, or the people that will be called to go on to be part of the pitching in the when Hanga goes on the road, then we'll communicate how many minutes and the time for the pitching. But for now, I think as much information as you can put in the pitch deck and make it really go directly to the message that you want to bring across, then that would be very helpful. Juliet, working in Uganda since 2019, in Rwanda, having already started the license. Are we eligible for Hanga Fest?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're looking at Rwandan-based startups. So at the time of the application, you already have to be based here in Rwanda. So either having your company registration and operating. So would not be eligible for this year, but maybe next year, once you receive the license and have started operations, you can apply then.
And then AM Group, could we have presented PPT? If I understand, yeah, if I understand well, do you mean or you want the PPT that we just presented? Okay, so if you go on the Hanga Pitchfest website, the pitch deck template is actually attached in the application, so you can see download the pitch deck template. But then all the information that I presented before, what is Hanga Pitchfest, the Hanga on the road, if you go on the website, you see all that information. It's already there. If you don't find any of that information, just write to info@Hanga Pitchfest and we'll respond. Is there anyone else? Do we have anyone to the attendance? Oh,
the ones who raised their hand.
Thank you, Henley. They are an early stage startup with working protocol not registered because we still need legal advice before. Company name has already been reserved. We're planning to register soon. Do you still think we can apply the Hanga Pitchfest? That's a tricky one. But I would advise to apply. I would advise to apply because I think.
Yeah, I think there's two kinds of startups. There are people who may be registered. We have a requirement that you must be registered in the last 5 years, but you can find there's a company that registered maybe 7 years ago, but they only started operations 2 to 3 years later. I think in that case, you can still apply and we'll consider it, just if you can show something to prove that you're only operational in the last few years. And then for those who are not registered yet, but you can show you have the working prototype and have started the registration process, you can apply and we'll consider it and see what can be done.
Yeah. And then for piece on the Crepin on APK version, yes, you can submit the APK version as to look at it, but please in the application as well as the pitch deck, you have to showcase that your solution or your innovation is actually working in a live environment. So it's fine for us to see how it works, but in other areas of the application, as I had said before, it has to be working in a live environment. And then to attend as 4 members of the team, no, we'll have 1 member of the team attend the boot camps, but then it's going to be mandatory for everyone who is in the top 25 to be available for 2 weeks of the boot camp. So Kelvin, yes, we'll have the recording shared today. So if there's anyone else who has questions, please raise your hand and then we'll give you the floor.
Okay, let me call out some people. Yeah. So there's Nengo Ali.
Nengo Ali, please go ahead.
Good morning. Mic check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I would like to ask you: is it possible for someone to apply for himself and to apply for a company he belongs to?
Maybe you can explain what you mean. How would you apply for yourself and a company? How would it be different?
I mean, I belong for a given company, it's a startup, and I have also my personal startup. Is it possible for me to apply for both companies?
They're two different companies, if I understand very well.
Yes, there are two different companies. One is my own, and another one I share it with other people.
That's fine.
So you can go ahead and apply. If both of those companies are really great and you're in the top 25, you have to find someone else to represent the other company then.
Okay, and is it that really mandatory for, because actually I came a bit late, is it that really mandatory for a person to have, I mean, to have a prototype which is working?
Yes.
Yes.
So if it's, let's say it's, and better on that, are we in the application, are we going to submit the prototype?
So there's a way to, yes, you're going to submit the prototype, or a way in the application is either you give us a link to a video that showcases your prototype, or a link to either to where you have an app on any app store, or a video of how it works, but you still have to demonstrate how it works in a live environment.
Okay, and if it's a backend, if it's still a backend development,
then that would not be eligible as a prototype in this instance, because it's still in development, and we want something that because then it will be considered not a working startup at the moment. You see what I mean? I don't know. I think. Let me know if you understand what I mean. Because if it's still in development, it means that no customer has access to it yet. And for us, what we are looking at is for people who have at least one customer using their product.
Okay, so I think that means more than a prototype. Because actually most of the time what people understand from prototype is that you have a working product. It might be either be used by you or be used by some of your fellows, especially for developers. You put your prototype out and you give it for your fellow developers to test and tell you what's wrong with it, and then you are going to evaluate, you are going to develop basing on their different feedback. And that makes a person working better, because when you have a backend which is working adequately, it means that when you're going to the part of the front end before putting it to the market, you'll be having all the feedback from your fellow developers, and the product will be almost ready for the entire community to use it.
Yeah, I get that. Probably then it's a wording difference, but what we are looking at is something that has actually gotten in the hands of the market, if I should say so. Might be one person, 10 people, but it should be out of production.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And sorry.
Clarify on that one.
And the last one, if I'm not taking much of your time, you mean, and the bootcamp, people will have to attend 2 weeks. If it's a group, I mean, if it's a group, let's say the startup is composed by 5 people, all of them it's mandatory for them to attend the 2 weeks bootcamp.
No, at the moment we are only requiring one person from the team to attend the 2 weeks. But in case we see that there's value in having more team members, but it's not going to be a requirement. At least one team member who's going to be the one to pitch is going to be the one to attend the bootcamps.
The whole time.
Okay. Yeah, it was because sometimes people have a load and Anyway, we'll find a way. And there is no way someone can attend and another member of the group is going to pitch.
No, that's impossible, because what we are trying to achieve is during the bootcamp, it is going to be a series of making sure that that people are really getting prepared for the final pitch. So, and it's going to be, we're building it to be a cohesive bootcamp that if I attend today and I miss 3 more days, if there's elimination, then you're eliminated because there was no inconsistency of the person who's attending this, the bootcamp and the courses that would be there. So we really much would like to have one consistent person per startup attending the bootcamps, so that there's a clear growth and a clear support for them when they get to the final day.
Okay, and what will be the time? Let's say in a day, you say the time to attend.
So when you select the final top 25, we'll communicate all that. We'll communicate that ahead of time. So we'll give you enough time to have that. But let's first even get through the application, get selection, get on the road, and then we'll communicate all the details.
Okay, thank you. And thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you.
So now there's Gilbert.
Gilbert, please go ahead. Gilbert?
Yego, murakoze cyane. Gukoresha Ikinyarwanda sinzi niba byemewe, ndumva nakoresha Ikinyarwanda mu buryo busobanutse. Yego, muranyumva?
Yes, turakumva.
Amazina yanjye ni Gilbert Byiringire. Nanjye nashaka kubaza ikibazo, the company gitangira izagezaho nk'uko nabiteganyije serivisi za automobile services, ariko mu buryo buri bufitanye isano n'ikoranabuhanga. Nkaba mfite prototype ya website, gusa iracyakorwa, kandi iyo company ntabwo iraba registered ku buryo bujyanye n'ibintu bijyanye na software, iri registered ku bijyanye no izatanga serivisi za automobile. Sinzi, nabazaga nakwaprayinga nerekana ko iyo prototype ya website mu mazina ya company yanjye ifite uburenganzira bwo gutanga serivisi zijyanye na automobile.
Okay, so nimba n'umushe neza Gilbert, ni ukuvuga ngo iyo website iraza kunganira ibyo usanzwe ukora cyangwa?
Website iraza kunganira ibyo nsanzwe nkora, usibye ko iri still development, ariko irahari, turacyayivugurura, gusa irunganira ibyo nsanzwe nkora.
So icyo nakugiramo inama ni ukuvuga ngo nimba uyu munsi company yawe ikintu ikora kirimo technology ntabwo ari software gusa, ntabwo ari website gusa turi gushaka. Company yawe uyu munsi kirimo technology zaza yiyongeraho, ariko uyu munsi ukaba uri gukora, nakugira inama yo kwapplyinga ubishyira hamwe byose, atari ukuvuga ngo website urayishyira ku ruhande, uratanga website imwe yonyine. Ni ukuvuga ngo nimba company yawe uri gukoresha technology hose, wapplyinga nka company yawe ushyiremo ko niyo website uzayishyiraho, ariko ari technology ya company yose, atari website gusa.
Okay, ku bijyanye na prototype, nabonye ko akenewe gushyiraho niba ari link cyangwa se video ya prototype yabwo. Njye nsanzwe ntanga izo serivisi zisanzwe za automobile, nkiyongeraho niyo website yari igiye kuzamfasha mu minsi iri imbere. Sinzi uburyo nashyiraho kuri prototype.
Ubwo ndibaza ko wakoresha nka video, ugakora video ikora inaratinga ibyo ukora inabyerekana ibyo ukora byose.
Okay. Sawa murakoze.
Murakoze. I don't know if we have any more questions.
Answer.
Okay. I think Enoch had already, Hamza, you had already talked, or this is a new question?
Yeah, I had already asked a question. Can I ask? Yeah, so just to add on from what not the previous one, but the one before, the guy that spoke about the two companies, I think there's a bit of miscommunication on what prototype is and what an MVP is. I think in this case, what you're talking about is a minimum viable product, but then you're saying prototype. You get what I'm saying? A prototype is something that you're still testing. I mean, as per the requirements of what you posted, it's something that you're still testing. Users are testing it, yes. User can be anyone, but then minimum viable product is something that has almost 70% of the functionalities that you actually need in your application or company, whatever you're building. So I think some clarity on the requirements needs to be clarified there on what a prototype is. Like I said, a prototype can be, when you say a prototype, different tools give you different presentation. Ideally, prototype is something that you want to show someone, someone needs to interact with. So interaction can be anything. Can I click and open a new activity or whatever? You understand? Yeah, but then from what Esther described before, is something close to an MVP and not a prototype. So I think more clarity needs to be ironed out there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza. And we'll make sure that we again go ahead and clarify what we mean on both ends. And I hope our clarifications were very clear on what we are looking at. Because if you also go for hardware-based solutions, most of them, what they would call prototype would also be something that is physical, live, and working, but not the final product. So yeah, so we'll add more clarification and say we're looking more something that is an MVP more than a prototype. But I hope that was clear in what we'll put as criteria for selections.
Yeah. And maybe to add, I think, look, because it's both hardware and software, where we're looking at the working prototype, if you've not tested with customers, but you have something that you've already, at least you've shown that you've started testing, it doesn't hurt to apply and see your chances. It's just that it's more compelling for a judge when they see someone who's already started testing it on customers. So you're more at an advantage of winning if your working prototype or an MVP has already had some customers testing it. That doesn't stop you from applying if you have a prototype that has been tested by other people. It can even be done internally. The only problem is that when it comes to then assessing on the customer traction part and the proof that you've already started to work to do it on the market, it would not be as from the judges, it would the person who at least has tested on the market would be given a higher rating or consideration. So that's the concern. So the problem is working prototype is it can be defined different ways, especially if it's hardware or software. But really, the more you can prove that there's been significant testing and some experimentation with the customers, the more it increases the likelihood of shortlisting from the judge.
All right, cool. That's fine. Thank you.
Enoch or Enoch's hand is ready.
Enoch, the new question?
Oh. Hamza had spoken, or is new question?
Hamza just finished.
Okay.
So
Enoch.
we have Enoch, but maybe it's a new question.
Enoch, is this a new question? Your hand is up. Is he permitted to, allowed to talk? Enoch, do you have a new question, or it's? She's unmuted. Enoch, please go ahead and speak. You're unmuted.
Yes.
Yeah. Yvette, please go ahead. Then after that, we'll go to the questions in the chat.
Yes, I've sent my question. I don't know if I've received it. May I repeat it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was asking, my startup was registered in 2015, and we started operation after a certain period, that 6 months like that. So I was asking if I'm eligible to apply for this competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvette. So the cutoff is 5 years. So 2017 is when 5 years for registration. The only exception maybe we can consider is if someone can show that maybe they registered before, but they were only operational in the last 5 years. Then I think we can see if that can be considered. But for 2015, that means the operation started in 2016. So that would be outside of the accepted period.
Okay, thank you.
So there was a question in the chat.
We've answered those.
We've answered the one from Peace about the team members at bootcamp. For the people who had an app store something, but currently has an APK in improvement stage, are they eligible to apply?
Yes, and I think what we had said, yes, you can share the APK version, but I think in other areas of the application, please show again that your application, this customer or it's in a live environment somehow. So there's from Felix, a single company registered community main equal software development kind of organized application. Yes, what you present muri application is one product. So you do, if you have so many things that you do, I would advise to just apply with one product that you feel like needs the funding that you're applying for. Gusubiza ariya magambo kuri ibibazo tuyuje ukandika make ntabwo bikunda gukora submit kuri icyo kibazo bigaragara ko utagikoze. Okay, Joseph, reka tukurikirane turebe, and if you can share a screenshot kuri email twabikurikirana tukareba why you're not able to submit.
Nothing or just a few words? So Eme on registration at RDB, I think earlier we had said that if you can demonstrate that you're in the process of registration, like the previous speaker had, or someone who had asked a question that they've already reserved their name at RDB, etc. So then that would really work well. But we would really like to have some companies that are registered at this moment. Can we give Felix? Right. Felix,
go ahead, Felix.
Felix, can you hear us?
Okay.
Felix, please go ahead.
Enoch, kuri kuvuga ngo ntabwo uraregisteringa uri gushaka ibyangombwa. Okay, I don't understand ibyangombwa usually if you have more co-founders, but if you're uri gushaka ibyangombwa, that is no kuvuga yuko uri muri process yo registering. So if you can explain that process, that will also be helpful. And we can see if that could be eligible from the judge's point of view. But uzatanga nyine ikigaragaza yuko uri muri process yo registering. I think we are at 1 hour now. Thank you all for so it's your prototype bivuze mu Kinyarwanda. Joseph, iyo tuvuze prototype ni ukuvuga ngo nimba umuntu ari gutegura umushinga we cyangwa se uri nko gukora software ikaba igeze ahantu wamaze kuyikora, kuvuga nko ku bice bya software wamaze kuyikora, noneho hari abantu bashobora gutangira kuyigerageza. Ni ukuvuga ngo nicyo twita prototype. Ni ukuvuga ngo ni product igeze ahantu, igeze mu igerageza, ariko twebwe hano muri iri rushanwa muri Hanga Fest icyo dushaka ni ukuvuga ngo ni umushinga abakiriya bashobora kuba baratangiye gukoresha. Nicyo turi kwita ubu ngubu prototype cyangwa se minimum viable or towards minimum viable product. Nicyo dushaka nizere ko bisobanutse. Ese yari tech service nshyashya umuntu yongereye mu byo akora, ariko company ubwayo imaze 5 years or 6 ubwemerewe applying kuri iyo service imaze 2 years. Yvette, nimba ari ukongera ku bintu usanzwe ukora,
The registration is clear.
Yeah, registration are really clear, unless ari service nshyashya bigaragara ko itandukanye n'ibyo usanzwe ukora. Ariko yeah, numva ariko nagusubiza. Enoch, hano turashaka ko ugaragaza neza nimba waratangiye process yo kuregisteringa company yawe. Nimba umuntu abasha kubyerekana muri application wabikora kuko ari cyo tugendereyeho. So I think we can close here, right? We give Yvette
Was answered.
Info. Going to chat.
Do we want, let's get Yvette, last question.
And Felix has asked his question in chat.
Okay. Mu gihe hari abantu bakuje project mwabafasha gute? Urebye rero ahangaha nimba abantu bahuje project, burya abantu bahuza ibitekerezo ariko hari igihe badahuza uburyo babikoramo. Ni ukuvuga ngo aba judges icyo bazareba ni ukuvuga ngo nimba abantu babiri bahuje project, ubwo hari umwe uzaba tuvuge ugeze kure mu kuyishyira mu bikorwa cyangwa se undi agitangira. Abajije bazadetermina uwo baha amahirwe, ariko nanone urumva ko ibitekerezo hari igihe usanga abantu babihuje, ntabwo twavuga ngo tuzabashyira hamwe cyangwa tugire gute. Ni ukuvuga ngo buri tuzajya niba Felix na Aime bahuje ibitekerezo, buri muntu wese abajije bazareba ko babinonosora, sinzi uko nabivuga, ariko babijudginga barebeye kuri criteria, barebye uwatanze uwagaragaje ko ari kubikora bishyizeho imbaraga, ugeze kure kurusha undi, noneho bahitemo ufite igitekerezo unanabigejeje kure mu kubikora. So ndibaza ko ariko abajije bazabikora, but ntabwo bavuga ngo abantu bazarangiza badahuje ibitekerezo muri iyi competition. ikindi narangirizaho nuko ibindi bibazo byose mwabishyira kuri email ya info@hangapitchfest.rw turagerageza kugenda tubasubiza uko bigenewe. Can we give Yvette the last question and then we close out?
Okay, murakoze. Ofeti ntago mwasubije neza. Ni ukuvuga ngo nimba ari serivisi nshyashya umuntu yongereye mu bikorwa bye, bumva nta buryo umuntu, sinzi ko ari uburyo umuntu abiregisitaringamo. Ariko umuntu wenda bazwiho ko akora ibi bintu runaka, kereka wenda abakiriya bawe nibo bashaka gupuruva ko ari serivisi nshyashya itangiye mu gihe gito runaka. Ariko nta buryo umuntu ashaka kupuruva mugamo wenda bwo kuvuga ngo yabaye registered kwa ko the same company, ariko umuntu agatangira indi serivisi. Nibyo nashakaga kuvuga. Rero sinzi wenda uburyo umuntu ashaka kwifashisha bipuruva ko ari serivisi nshyashya. Wenda bwamfasha kumva icyo nakora kugira ngo mbashe applying.
So even nguhaye nka example, tuvuga ufite papeteri ukaba ufite waratangiye ugurisha amakaye, then ugashyiramo nyuma y'imyaka 3 ugashyiramo envelope, ushobora kunyereka uburyo envelope ari produit nshyashya washyizemo. Ariko hano icyo dushaka kuvuga no kuvuga ngo ntabwo dushaka gushyiramo envelope, turashaka ko wenda hejuru ya papeteri ku ruhande ushyiraho printing services. Rero nimba ushaka nimba iyo service bongereye muri company yawe atari akantu wongereye kuri papeteri gutyo gusa, akaba ari printing service washyizeho, then you can apply kuri izo ukoresheje printing service uvuga ati ngiyi niyo product nshyashya nashyizeho kandi imaze imyaka 2. Ndiza kubyo ngibyo ushaka demonstrating yuko bimaze imyaka 2.
Okay. Thank you. The news. Murakoze cyane.
I think Avanti, let's close here and then try so yes, we're trying to make this an annual event. And then for if you need investment to design a prototype, I believe this is a physical prototype, right? So ahangaha niho twavuga tuti if you can be able to get to a point where you have ushobora gufilminga nimba nabyita gute ugafilminga ikintu kitari muri design gusa, niho turi gushaka abantu ba applying. But if you need to do the design from your to do a prototype and you haven't, I'd say approach any Fab Lab, any either innovation hub, prototype at this moment. And then really cool, actually you can now move from the design to prototype phase. But so far, I think Hannah, we're looking for something already Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. So again, let me write the email we'll try and make sure that we answer all the questions that are sent through the email. If you have any problem on application, take a screenshot of where you're stuck and send it to an email, and we'll be able to respond very quickly and make sure that and add your phone number so that if it's necessary, we call you and walk you through the process. But send emails, send questions on email, and we'll be able to answer them. And please remember that submission is on 10th of November. We're not going to allow for abantu applying on midnight and 30 minutes. Now tuzaba considering us, so it's 11:59 p.m. 10th of November. So apply on time, and we really look forward to reading all your applications and meeting you when we get on the road. Thank you very much and have a good Saturday.